This video is sponsored by Honey.
You never heard? A cat. You don't have a cat. You don't have a cat.
But what does that have to do with anything?
No. He's got a point.
On today's episode of random Nick Cage movie that nobody has ever heard about or seen, because, wow, there's a lot of those, I introduce you to Between Worlds. Maybe they should have renamed it to Between Nick Cage's Legs, because, wow, he gets pretty frisky in this one.
Oh yeah! Oh God! Fuck! Oh. Woo!
Just wait. Upon seeing the trailer, I thought, whoa, this is going to be a really interesting take on life and death and traveling between the two. And, yeah, it's not. It's kind of like when you go to McDonald's and you order a 10-piece chicken McNugget with a large fry, but they just kind of forget the fries, you know? And then you drive away without looking and you're like, oh, well, half my meal isn't there. That's kind of what this movie is. Yeah, this movie is bad, but that doesn't mean there aren't some good memes.
His face.
Yeah, Nick Cage is just being Nick Cage in this movie, and it's fabulous. On YouTube Movies, Between Worlds has one comment, and this is what it says. Worst movie I've ever seen. So bad I had to go out of my way and see if there was something on here about it, to write this to save whoever else so they don't have to suffer it like what I just did. I hope English is not their first language, but I do agree with their sentiment. I'ma be honest, this movie introduced me to a side of Nick that I don't think I was prepared for.
This is the worst.
A little bit more of his intimate side.
Oh yeah! Oh God! Fuck!
And it doesn't help that they made him this greasy biker dude. He wears nothing but leather, his hair's super long, he always just seems dirty. Like, he looks like he smells bad throughout the entire movie. And I think they were doing this to try and make him seem like a badass that just doesn't care. But yeah, it just seems like he has bad hygiene. I don't think that's a plus. You know, my 365 days video, I used nothing but Nick Cage faces to cover up all of the naughty scenes. Well, that was to prepare you for this video. I'm sorry. And I'm pretty sure they used Times New Roman as the text for this movie, like the credits and everything. It's gross. It gives me flashbacks to when I was in high school, and they forced us to use Times New Roman whenever we wrote an essay or something. Ever since I graduated, Times New Roman has been the world's worst text. And it remains the world's worst text because it gives me PTSD. Yes, it's even worse than Comic Sans. I looked up this movie on Wikipedia, and apparently the premiere of this movie got a standing ovation in Texas. That's weird. They must have low standards down there. So yeah, they try and make Nick look like a badass, because the first scene you see of him, he's stepping in a puddle, and it's like, oh shit, this guy is cool. And then you see another shot of him, and it just reminds you of this dog meme. This bird meme also works. I love how Nick has 6 huge rings on his fingers in this movie. And I'm pretty sure that those rings are actually Nick Cage's. If you watch an interview of him from the movie Mandy, he's wearing these massive king rings. He definitely just likes to look fancy, you know? He likes wearing interesting clothes. Like that jacket that he wore to the Color Out of Space premiere. Yeah. Very cool. After they introduce Nick's character, we instantly get this shot of a fat guy's fat ass. Yeah, it just pans up and shows us his ass crack. Okay. And then greasy-haired Nick hears commotion in the bathroom, so he goes in there and kicks the door open and sees this woman getting choked, and he saves her. And he's all proud of himself. He goes, I saved you.
What did you do?
I saved you.
When Nick saves Julie, he says verbatim, we don't hurt women down south. Next time, try wrestling a man-gator.
Next time, why don't you wrestle a man-gator?
What? Right away, it's pretty apparent that this movie is filled with memes. She runs away and he runs after her. like a weirdo. When they're walking outside, he goes,
The state troopers are coming. I'm gonna need you to explain what just happened.
who called the state trooper? It didn't show anybody calling a state trooper, so I mean, maybe the butt crack guy did off screen. Okay. And he calls her Buster. Like, what kind of a guy calls a woman Buster?
Hey, Buster.
That's kind of weird. This woman's name is Julie, and she asks Nick if he has a family. And then Nick responds by saying, oops, they're dead.
Oops, they're dead.
That's terrible.
He comes out of the gate swinging with these memes. I love it. Nick Cage, you're a cinematic hero. So Nick Cage is a trucker in this movie, and this woman also drives like a big truck. What are the odds that both of these people happen to drive massive trucks? I think that's pretty low. So she asks Nick for a lift to the hospital where her daughter is, which is kind of strange because this guy's a complete stranger and he's clearly a weirdo because, you know, he just said,
Oops, they're dead.
and she's like, oh yeah, just, you know, drive me to the hospital, even though I'm just about to get into my vehicle. So I don't know why I didn't just drive myself, but I'm just randomly interested in this stranger for some reason. So then we learn that Julie died when she was a teenager. She left her body because she got in an accident where she was like sledding on some ice with some friends, and the ice broke from under her and she drowned. And I guess she died and she was saved, and someone, I guess, pumped the life back into her. And she had this weird out-of-body experience when this happened. So she was like, oh, I gotta replicate that. So she asked people to choke her, and choke her to the point of nearly dying. I'm not sure how you could convince someone to do that to you, but apparently she did that enough to figure out that she has the ability to shepherd souls. Yes, you heard that correct. When she is choked to a certain point, she can enter like this void between death and life and like find the souls that are floating around and like shepherd them into bodies. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's very stupid. It's hard to even imagine how she figured out that she could do this. And why would she ever think that she could do that? You know, like, oh, I have an out-of-body experience. That means that I can, you know, manipulate other people's souls and put them places. What? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And the movie just expects the viewer to just go along with this. They're like, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it's so funny because when she tells this to Nick Cage, he's like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. Wow, that's a pretty nifty ability you got there. He just accepts that she can do this. Oh, okay. So Nick and Julie go to the hospital where Julie's daughter is. Her daughter's name is Billy, and her daughter just happens to have this life-threatening emergency when they get there. So Julie needs Nick to strangle her so she can, you know, shepherd her soul back into her body so she doesn't die. So they go into a stairwell, and Julie's like, choke me, Nick. And Nick's like, what, like right here? And she's like, yeah, right here. And he's like, all right. So he takes his jacket off because you can't be wearing a jacket when you choke someone nearly to death, you know. And I don't even know how you choke someone nearly to death and not kill them. Like, how many people have experienced choking someone nearly to death? And she's just gonna trust people not to kill her this way? What? So Nick Cage starts choking her. He's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm just gonna start choking you. Yep, you're not some insane person. You haven't completely lost it. He's just like, yep, I believe you. Makes sense. So she goes into the spirit realm and she finds Billy and she does her thing, I guess. So Nick and Julie go back to her place and bang. And wow, he is pretty aggressive. Jesus, Nick. Didn't have to go so hard on her the first time. What the hell? Is he banging her or is he attacking her? It's hard to tell. You know our boy Nick. The trucker hat stays on during sex. 3 days go by and they bring Billy back from the hospital to Julie's place. And she's acting very weird. She starts like flirting with Nick. It's very odd. So clearly something is wrong in her brain. So then Julie and Nick have a little talk and then he kisses her. And he makes these weird moaning noises. Like, who does that when you're kissing someone? Nick, what are you doing, dude? I feel like he must know that every single role he takes has to be a meme at this point, you know? He never goes into a role nowadays without thinking, I gotta meme this. I gotta make this weird. So he hugs Julie, and while hugging her, he takes a swig of some of Billy's medicine. It's pretty weird to put in the movie because they don't show him as like this crazy addict. He just takes a swig of it because he's weird, you know? He's not addicted to drugs or like painkillers or any of this stuff. He just takes a swig of it because, I don't know, he wanted to know what it tasted like. And while he's hugging her, he goes, hold daddy tight.
Hold daddy tight.
He literally says, hold daddy tight to this grown-ass woman. What? Why? What are you doing? What are you doing, Nick? So she says goodbye and he goes,
Giddy up.
and spanks himself. God damn it. Nick isn't only a complete weirdo in this movie, he's also very irresponsible. He's a trucker, and he had to deliver some stuff. But instead, he just decides to hang out with Julie for 3 days. Do you just not care about money? You don't care about your job? Like, why? What are you doing? Why? What? So he finally travels to where he's supposed to go. Obviously, he gets reprimanded, and they take his truck away, and he gets all upset. So he drives back to Julie's place, and wow, he's just in a great mood all of a sudden. Like, look at him. He's close to getting fired, but hey, he's feeling great. They're dancing, and then they smoke weed together. I can't remember in any other Nick Cage movie that I've seen of Nick smoking weed. So this was a really special scene, because they asked him to act like he was high. And wow. He acts like he's a high schooler, and this is his second time ever smoking weed. They laugh at the dumbest shit. And not just laugh. Nick goes 110%. He howls. And I get it, you laugh at dumb stuff when you're high, but whoa. And then they bang, and while banging, Nick just decides to start talking about The Exorcist. It's very random. It's so weird and out of nowhere, but it's very in character for Nick Cage. I swear to God, he must have improv like half of what he did in this movie. And then there's a scene of Nick Cage fixing his truck, and Julie makes a remark like, oh, are you sure it's gonna make it back in one piece? And then Nick laughs mockingly at her.
Is it gonna make it back?
Yeah, it sounds very strange. Ha ha ha! And then later, Julie's like, hey, Nick, do you want some beer? And then Nick says, does the Tin Man have a sheet metal cock?
So do you want a beer?
Does the Tin Man have a sheet metal cock?
What?
And then this next scene is like the beginning to a porno. Yeah, just give this a watch. You'll definitely see what I mean.
Sexual behaviors, which can become violent, sometimes.
What's going on? Are you okay?
It's one of those, oh my God, I hope they don't catch us type of things, you know? Yeah. She wants to get with Nick. Very bad. This random old dude that's hooking up with her mom, she wants to bang him. But there's a twist. Just wait. So remember earlier when Nick said that his wife and daughter are dead? Well, later in the movie, he elaborates on this.
Her stupid cigarette lit the couch on fire, old piece of shit, and the fire spread into. I'm sorry, I can't say her name because I get very upset.
Sometimes I like Nick Cage's acting, but in this movie, it just does not land. I'm sorry. He's just overacting like crazy. He's trying to act like he's sad, you know, bringing up these memories of his daughter and his wife dying in a fire, but it just comes across so forced. It's not convincing at all. I mean, he's got the whole watery eye thing going, but everything else is just, wow. Then there's a scene of Billy going through a journal. What are you reading? There's nothing in there. I guess those blank pages were pretty engrossing. Nick owes a $500 late fee to his trucking company, and until he pays that, he can't go back to work. So Julie goes to his work and pays it for him. And while she's gone, you know, Nick, being a stand-up guy, he bangs Billy. But there's a catch. He didn't just bang Billy. She convinced him to bang her. Do you know why? Because Nick Cage's wife is in Billy's body. I know. I'm surprised this isn't an M. Night movie because, wow, that's a pretty crazy twist if you ask me. I feel all twisty. And you know Nick, he's very gullible. He believes anything. So Billy's like, yeah, I'm your wife. And then Nick's like, oh yeah, yep, makes sense. I know Billy told him a bunch of stuff that she shouldn't know about him, you know, in order to like convince him that she's his wife. But still.
How do you know her name?
I know everything about you, Joe. About your dad. How he used to beat you. I'm your wife.
I think it would take a little bit more convincing. So Nick's like, all right, so Billy's my wife. So he bangs her.
A cat? You don't have a cat. You don't have a cat.
You see, what happened is when Julie was trying to shepherd Billy's soul back into Billy, since Nick was there, Nick's wife's soul was hovering around, you know, because Nick was there. So instead of shepherding Billy back into Billy, Julie accidentally put Nick Cage's wife into Billy's body. Just happened. It was an accident. You know when you're shepherding souls and you have that moment, right? You have one of those days and you go, and I oop, and you accidentally shepherd the wrong person. Yeah. So then there's a scene of Nick and Billy spraying each other with a hose. They're being really playful. Oh, I'm sorry. Nick and his wife are playing with the hose. And yeah, she sprays the shit out of Nick. She sprays him real good. Most of the music in this movie is so bad that if they just took it out completely, I think it would have been a better movie. Most of the songs sound like loops that you could get for free off of GarageBand. There's another scene of Nick and his wife banging, and he calls her a little tart.
Such a little tart.
Yeah, I don't know why. But when I first saw this scene, what I thought he said was, let out a little fart. Like, I thought he was asking her to fart while they were banging. And I was like, wow, so this guy is very weird. He's got that strange fart fetish. But I was wrong, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he did say, just let out a little fart, just a little. So Nick, why did you call her a little tart when you were having sex?
Oh, no, okay, alright. That was a slip of the tongue. I actually did want her to do a little fart for me.
Why did you decide to moan when you were kissing Julie in that one scene?
She actually put her finger in my...
Why did you say hold daddy tight when you were hugging Julie?
Because I'm her daddy and she's my naughty little girl.
And final question for Nick. Nick, do you use honey?
What's honey?
Just like you, me, and Nick Cage over here. We all shop online.
That was kind of rude of you to interrupt me, but...
And who doesn't like saving money? And saving money for free. We've all seen that promo code thing haunt us at checkout. Well, if you're not using honey, you gotta use it. Because it's a free browser extension that scours the internet for coupons for whatever you're trying to buy online. When you go to checkout, a honey button will drop down and all you have to do is click apply coupons and then you save money. It's as simple as that. Honey has more than 17 million people using it and it has saved people over $2 billion. So yeah, if you're not using it, I don't know why you're not using it, but you should be using it. It supports over 30,000 stores online, like Newegg, Walmart, Target. Who knows how much money you could be saving? It's literally free and installs in a few seconds. And by getting it, you're supporting my channel as long as you use my link, joinhoney.com/Elvis. Use that link, please. Get honey for free right now by clicking on the link in the description, or by going to joinhoney.com/Elvis. That's joinhoney.com/Elvis. Thank you for supporting the channel, and thank you, honey, for sponsoring this video. So then Julie meets up with this random woman that works at the hospital, because for some reason, this woman knows about Julie's ability and completely believes in it. Why do these people believe that Julie can do this, instead of thinking that she's an insane person? What is that? What? Apparently the reason that Nick's wife was floating around Nick is because she had this issue, right? That Nick was always leaving her because he's a trucker, right? He's always on the road. So she went a little batshit. Now she haunts him. She wants to always be around him. And since he was there when this took place, she was also there. That's what happened. It's so weird that Nick's wife just doesn't care that she's in another person's body. There's no scene of her coming to terms with it. There's no scene of her being weirded out that this has happened at all. She's just like, oh, I was a soul floating around, and now I'm in this body. Makes sense. She doesn't wonder why it happened. She just accepts that it happened. So Nick is banging Billy while Julie is talking to this woman. Julie comes home, and they're still banging, because people bang for like 2 hours straight. And she walks in on them, and then Nick tells her the perfectly rational explanation that Billy is his wife. If you watch this scene play out, it just sounds like two insane people having a conversation at a psych ward. And it's made even better that Nick isn't wearing pants.
I'm sorry to say this. Billy is dead. That is Mary.
No. She's not dead. She's lost, okay? And that thing hijacked her body, and I need you to help me get her back and fix this!
What do you expect me to do? Kill my wife?
And since he's not wearing pants, Julie calls him gross and tells him to put pants on.
Put your fucking pants on! You gross!
And Nick's reaction is great. He's like, damn, bitch, that was rude.
Well, I don't know what makes you say that, but...
After you just caught me banging your daughter. So while Nick is banging his wife, he starts talking dirty, and he does so in a very strange fashion.
Read to me from memories, Joe.
He picks up what looks like a publisher's proof of Memories, a self-published porno by Nicolas Cage. Wow, great meme. So Nick's wife, or Billy, knocks out Julie. Nick's like, whoa, you didn't have to do that, but whatever. So they both leave, and they need to find money. So Nick Cage's wife is like, yeah, I know exactly where we can go and get money. Instead of just stealing money from the house that you're already in, which would make more sense, right? Whose house do you go to if you want to steal money? You go to the place with a couple of 20-year-old stoners, because they're going to have a ton of money. Yeah, she saw the address of one of her friends on like an envelope or something at their place, and she's like, oh, let's go here to get some money. So yeah, they go there, and Nick Cage runs in with like a baseball bat and starts beating them, and he accidentally takes the gun from one of them and shoots him. So one of them's dead, and the other one is really mad, so he goes to Julie's place, and he starts being like, oh my god, your daughter is crazy, and she's with a guy, and they killed my friend. So then Julie's like, alright, just sit down and let me explain this shit to you. So she explains everything to this kid, and of course he believes her, because why wouldn't you believe in this insane shit? So this random stoner kid helps Julie. Nick and his wife steal like $100 from these kids, and then they decide to go to the house that they used to own. You know, the one that's like partially burnt down because they died in it? Yeah, they decide to go there because, you know, there's some pretty special memories there. Nick has this insane moment with a Jack-in-the-Box because I guess his daughter used to own a Jack-in-the-Box. He's really fixated on this Jack-in-the-Box. Billy's friend is like, oh, we should just call the police. And Julie's like, no, we can't call the police because then they'll like lock up Billy, even though you could just blame it all on Nick. Why don't you just blame it all on Nick? So they just decide not to call the police. So Julie and Billy's friend decide to go to Nick Cage's house, you know, where Nick and his wife are. And you might be wondering, how do they know where Nick Cage lives? Well, Julie found out where they live by having Billy's friend choke her.
You have to choke me.
And she used her spirit's built-in GPS to locate Nick Cage's house. Or she just used it to what, like find Billy's body, even though Billy's soul isn't in there? So Julie and Billy's friend confront them. They have a gun. And then Nick Cage's wife pulls out a gun. So they both have a gun on either side. It's a standoff. Oh my god, it's getting intense. And this is a perfect time for Nick Cage's wife to tell Nick the real reason their daughter died. Because she's insane. Nick Cage's wife killed their daughter, and she accidentally burnt the house down and killed herself. She didn't mean to kill herself, she just wanted to kill the daughter.
You never hurt her.
And she killed their daughter because she wanted to hurt Nick. Because he wouldn't come home, he's always on the road, what an asshole. So you gotta kill the baby, right? So yeah, she thinks that this is a perfect time to tell him this, when there's people pointing a gun at them. Yeah, I don't know why. She really is an insane person. So Nick Cage's wife killed their baby and started the fire on purpose. So Nick Cage, you know, hearing this, he goes a little cuckoo. So Julie jumps Billy, and Billy shoots Julie, making her ability go into effect. She goes into the spirit realm because she's dying. So Julie, while in the spirit realm, locks up Nick Cage's wife in purgatory, in the spirit prison. And so she has to like sit there with her daughter that she hates or whatever. So then Julie puts Billy back into Billy before she dies. Billy wakes up as Billy again, and she sees her mom dead right in front of her. That's a pretty traumatic way to wake up. So Nick is going insane, and he's playing with his daughter's Jack-in-the-Box. He's like, Sarah, 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 Sarah.
Sarah.
He crawls around on the ground like a weirdo, and then he pours gasoline all over himself and lights up one last cigarette as he burns to death. He doesn't yell out in pain at all. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. He's basically like that monk, that protesting monk that burned himself alive. Who knew that this random trucker guy would have the same fortitude as a protesting monk? Yeah. Doesn't make any sense that he wouldn't scream out, but he doesn't. Maybe he's just lost his... whatever. Whatever. So the movie ends with this weird flashback scene of young Nick Cage killing his abusive father. This movie was written, produced, and directed by the same person, Maria Polera, and this movie is her second completed movie ever. She's working on a third right now, so she's pretty new to the movie making scene, and I gotta say, for her second movie, it's pretty good. That is, as long as you don't compare her to someone like Robert Eggers, for example. But let's be real, there isn't really another person like Robert Eggers out there, so that will do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you know of any other movie that I should check out, put it in the comment section down below, and maybe I'll check it out. I just want to let you guys know that Alien Clothing is going to be going through a huge change soon. Like a massive change. The biggest change since the company started. If you're not sure what Alien is, it's alienclothing.com. It's my clothing brand. I'll announce it when it happens, but the people that I'm working with now, they're not doing so great ever since COVID-19, you know? Our orders have been backed up like crazy. It's taking a long time for stuff to ship out. The quality isn't the best, but I'm changing all of that very soon, and I'm super excited. A lot of stuff is changing, and I'm really excited for you guys to see what happens. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I've been rambling for too long, and my voice is shot, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much to everybody that supports me over on Patreon, and until next time, gamers, I'll see you in the spirit realm.
Ooh.